Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're going to be testing out a variety of different controllers, a fight stick and various steering wheels from different systems throughout the years on the Nintendo Switch to see what will work and what won't work. Now, natively the only things that are going to work are the Joy-Cons and also this Pro Controller down here. But by using various different adapters, we can get a lot more to work on the Nintendo Switch. Now in this video, the adapters we're going to be using are made by Brook. They're called a Game Controller Super Converters, and they look like this. I've got a Wii U to PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and a Wii U to Xbox 360 and Xbox One. And the other thing, the most important thing, is this Cronus Max adapter here, which is this one here. And basically what that will allow is when we plug this into one of the Brook converters, it will then open up a huge range of controllers, because then you can use PC based controllers on your Switch by using a combination of these two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of them, and then in the description I'm going to list them all so you can have a look at the time and go straight to that particular one, so you don't have to watch the whole video. You can look down the list and see what takes your fancy and then look at that particular one to see if it works. So for example, if you want to know if a PlayStation 2 controller or a PlayStation 1 controller works, look down on the description and then you'll see the time, and then you can go straight to that particular one. Now I'm not going to go into great detail on every single controller. I'm just going to connect each one of them up and then see if it works. I'm also going to see if it works wirelessly or wired, whether motion control works, whether the analog sticks work, whether you've got the full range of buttons or not. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get started. Now all the devices in this video will be mimicking a Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. So first of all, we have the Mayflash Universal Arcade Fight Stick, the F500. Now obviously you're only going to be able to play certain games on this because we haven't got a left analog stick or a right analog stick. But the older Neo Geo games are a lot of fun on a fight stick, and also things like Street Fighter. And as you can see, it works nicely. Basically it's a wired controller straight into the Brook adapter here, no Cronus Max. And I've got it set to PS3, the D input, so not the X input. I've got it set to PS3. You can also have this connected up using your Xbox or the PlayStation 4 controller, but you physically have to have the controller plugged into this port here. But if you use it as a PS3 D input, then you don't need any controller connected to it. It will recognise this as a controller itself. So as you can see, it works nice. And the nice thing about the fight stick is you've got the option to do turbo. So for example, if this is your fire, if I was to press turbo and this one here, then if I just hold it down, you can see now it's repeatedly firing. So this can come in handy when you're doing things like Street Fighter or many Neo Geo games where you constantly have to fire. Right, so that's that one there. Next we have the Wii U Pro Controller. Unfortunately this does not work. So at the moment I've got it connected straight into the Nintendo Switch, and although it will charge, it won't do anything. If I plug it in via the Brook adapter, it still doesn't recognise it, it still won't do anything. And even if I plug it in via the Cronus Max, it comes up with E because it's not recognised. So unfortunately the Wii U Pro Controller does not work. Next I'm going to be using this controller that I got off Amazon for under £10 UK. This controller is actually a bit of a bargain. It's a wired controller, but it feels really nice. So you'd expect it to be absolutely awful for under £10, but surprisingly it feels and works really well. Now on this particular one, it's made for PCs, so I'm going to be connecting it up via the Cronus Max. So I've got the Cronus Max connected into the Brook converter, which goes into my Nintendo Switch dock. And right now I've got it working in handheld mode, so you don't always have to have it connected into the dock. So if you have a look down there now, you can see it moving around the place. And the good thing about this, the analog sticks and everything work as analog sticks, and it's also got a rapid button down here as well. And what this allows you to do is when you press it and hold down one of the buttons, it turns into like turbo on the last device. When you press it, it holds it down, and it's the same as you repeatedly pressing it. This also has another feature. When you do rapid and hit the same button again, it will just be on all the time. So let's pretend now if you just wanted to have it firing all the time with unlimited fire without you hitting A, for example. If you had it on A, then if you do it on that setting, it will always be on A. Then when you hit one of the other buttons, it will interrupt it, so it will no longer be on that one. So let me show you that one working. So as you can see, it's working in handheld mode. So what you can do is, this Brook adapter here does not have to be connected into the Nintendo Switch dock. You can plug this into any USB power supply. So if you wanted to connect these adapters here straight into a USB power plug and plug it into a power point, then that's absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be via the Nintendo Switch dock. So if you wanted to play this in a separate room in your house, up in your bedroom or something, you can still use most of these devices in a handheld mode. So if, for example, I wanted to make it look like a nice arcade, I can pop it in my stand here. And if I was to plug this into this adapter here and plug it into a power point, I can still control it down here. Right, for the purpose of the video, I'm going to do the rest of the items now on the TV here because it's bigger and easier to watch. Also on the back of this we have a switch to go from X input and D input. At the moment I've got it on X input because when I put it on D input, as you'll see later in the video on the PlayStation 2 controllers, it actually ruins the right analog stick. It doesn't function correctly when I have it on D input. So let me go down to System Settings, and again on X input it's going to mimic the Pro Controller. So if you have a look here, we've got A here and B here. So when it says to press A, you can't press A on this one because we're mimicking this controller. So A is going to be where B is and B is going to be where A is. So it's confusing when you look down on it, but if you're just used to playing with your fingers without looking, then it doesn't make a difference what controller you're using. So I'm going down to Controllers and Sensors and I'm pressing A, which is actually B on this one. And I'm going to go down to Calibrate Control Sticks just to show you. So right now, left stick press in, and you can see now, even though I move at small amounts, that it's moving around the screen in an analog way. So it's not working like a D-pad, it is moving as a proper analog controller. And that applies to the other one as well. So if I press B to get out of that, and if we press in on the right analog stick, you can see again that it works in an analog way. So you can see there, small amounts. Now the analog sticks on this don't feel as nice as the analog sticks on an Xbox, PlayStation or the proper Pro Controller. It feels a little bit more jerky, so you've got quite a little bit of movement before they actually start to move, but they are still working in an analog way. Now remember, it is under 10 UK pounds and I don't think anybody will be disappointed with this controller. Now there's no motion control on this, even though I've got motion control turned off. Let me just quickly turn that on. Tilt control is now off, now put it on. Right, so as you can see there is no motion control, but there is rumble. Hopefully you can just hear that. As you can see, it works perfectly. I can't notice any lag on it. To me, it works as good as the Pro Controller. Right, if we press that, it brings us back to home. So this controller here has the full range of buttons and works just like a Pro Controller in a wired way. Now, it also hasn't got NFC. In fact, none of the controllers in this video will have NFC, so you can't use amiibos on anything other than the Joy-Con and the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. Let's go on to the next one.